Hello and welcome back to Hestia's Muse, podcast for astrological devotionals. My name is Liliana Blackstar, and I am here to bring you a spiritual devotional of self-discovery and personal growth that is in some way inspired by astrology. Join me to tune into astrological transits and the Wheel of the Year for inspiration in your greatest task in life, to know yourself. Welcome back. I am here this week with another tarot astrology devotional for you, and we're going to be talking about the 10 of Wands, which is a Sagittarius card and a Saturn card. So each of the tarot cards are in some way associated with an astrological sign, a decan, a season, or a planet. The 10 of Wands is associated with the third decan of Sagittarius. This is the last 10 degrees of the sign of Sagittarius, from 20 degrees through the end of the 29th degree. And decans are the subdivisions of signs, so each sign is divided into three parts: a first decan, a second decan, and a third decan. And so we have tarot cards that are associated with each of those decans. And the tarot card associated with the third decan of Sagittarius is the 10 of Wands. The third decan of Sagittarius is sub-ruled by the planet Saturn. So the whole sign of Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter, but each subsection, each decan, is also sub-ruled by another planet. And that final 10 degrees of Sagittarius is sub-ruled by Saturn. So you can think of that last 10 degrees of Sagittarius to have a kind of Saturnian energy to it. And while any planet that moves through the sign of Sagittarius is going to be under the influence of Jupiter, because Jupiter rules all of Sagittarius, you can think of the third decan of Sagittarius as being like sub-ruled or have a shift manager of Saturn. So when we think about the 10 of Wands, we're going to think of Sagittarius, but we're also going to think about Saturn. We're going to interpret this card, the 10 of Wands, as having a strong Saturn influence, or we can think of it to represent the energy of Saturn in Sagittarius. Saturn doesn't have to be in Sagittarius for this card to be relevant, but it helps to think of Saturn as influencing this card and influencing that final 10 degrees of Sagittarius. So let's have a look at the 10 of Wands. The 10 of Wands is going to be in a traditional Rider-Waite card depicting a person who is carrying like this big bundle of sticks, these big wands. They look heavy. The figure's kind of hunched over, obviously having to put forth a lot of work and effort. There is like a little chateau or a village or a castle in the distance of the card, which kind of depicts this energy of we're almost there, we just have to keep going a little bit further. But you can tell that the figure in the card is very tired and overburdened. They're carrying a lot of weight, they're very tired. It's a challenge to reach that completion. So some of the key words and concepts of the 10 of Wands are burden, challenges, commitment, completion, determination, endurance, exhaustion, journey's end, limitations, overwhelm, responsibility, sacrifice, strain, and weight. So overall, the Ten of Wands symbolizes the culmination of a challenging journey. The figure is depicted carrying this heavy burden of wands, and the weight that they bear represents the responsibilities, tasks, and obligations that have accumulated over time. So maybe this person didn't start out their journey with all of these wands, but you kind of pick things up as you go along your journey, right? Kind of accumulate more obligations and more tasks and duties and responsibilities as time goes on. So this card can signify a point of exhaustion and strain as we struggle underneath the weight of our commitments. So the figure's stooped posture represents the toll of these overwhelming responsibilities. Yet they are still going forward. They're determined to reach that destination. The symbolism in the Ten of Wands is really about the sacrifices made and the burdens carried in the pursuit of your goals. So again, when we're talking about wands in tarot, we're talking about actions and passions. It's the element of fire is the suit of wands. And so these things that we're carrying are things that feel very important because they are representations of a task or a goal or a passion. And so we want success. We have a desire, we have a passion, and we pick up a goal and we're starting to work towards that. And then something else comes along and inspires us and we feel passionate about that. So we pick that up. And someone else says, hey, I need your help with this. And we say, yes, I love you. I want to help you. And we pick up that. So we end up accumulating all of these obligations and tasks and things that are our responsibility, right? So this is a period where when this card shows up, we have to maybe reevaluate our priorities and recognize our limits. Like there's going to be a point where if this figure picks up one more wand, they're going to injure themselves and not be able to continue moving forward at all. They're going to collapse under the weight of all of these obligations and tasks. So we have to recognize our own limits. And we also have to, at some point, prioritize what's the most important things that we are going to carry with us, because I can't carry all of it. So this card can really prompt people to question whether they've taken on too much and emphasize the importance of seeking support, prioritizing your goals, understanding your own limitations, and then also understanding like your own sense of determination and endurance. Like, what are you like, okay, I've only got a little bit farther to go. Can I make it with all of this? Or do I need to release something so that I can make it to the goal? So I can make it to that endpoint. So there's a lot of resilience in this card. Yes, this person looks tired and weighed down, but there's an inherent sense of resilience in this card because they are almost there. They have responsibilities, they have obligations, and things that they have agreed to that are feeling very, very important, and their resilience is going to help give them that little push of energy to make it to the end. But along the way, we have to remember that this person has not just trudged the whole time carrying all of these things. If they're really going to make it to the end without getting to burnout and to get to a point of sustainable success, they're going to be remembering to take care of themselves along the way. They're going to be taking breaks. They're going to be asking for help. They're going to be delegating their responsibilities or just being aware of their own limitations. And limitations is a Saturn word, and that's why we do see a lot of Saturn energy in this card. So let's talk for a moment about Saturn. Saturn in astrology embodies the archetype of the taskmaster, and it represents discipline, structure, responsibility, maturity, and the pursuit of long-term goals. The influence of Saturn is like the stern but wise teacher who imparts valuable life lessons through challenges and responsibilities. Saturn teaches us the importance of hard work, patience, and perseverance, and it urges people to build a solid foundation for their ambitions. Like, you can have a big lofty dream, but if you don't have a solid foundation in which to work on, then you might be building something that is unstable and unsustainable and is going to fall apart. So Saturn really wants us to, yes, work hard, but make sure that we're also working smart, right? Building that strong foundation. Saturn rules over time and maturation. So some things we learn with age, right? Some things we learn and we get wiser and smarter as we get older. Saturn emphasizes the significance of delayed gratification and the rewards that come with sustained effort. Saturn is not about getting instant gratification. It's about that gratification after you have worked on something for a long time and have put a lot of effort into it. And then the type of gratification that you get when you achieve a long-term goal or you've been working really hard at something is different from the type of gratification that you get just from being handed a cookie, right? So lessons associated with Saturn include facing your fears, embracing responsibilities, making mature choices, understanding the value of enduring hardship, and the work that we put into something for long-term success. So you can see a lot of Saturn energy in this card already. When we combine the archetype of Saturn with the energy of Sagittarius, we have something else happening. We have the general atmosphere of Saturn being disciplined and structured, but Sagittarius is really about optimism and hopefulness and expansiveness. So with the expansive nature of Sagittarius, and we combine that with the lessons of responsibility and endurance taught by Saturn, this combination really calls for an integration of those two energies, an integration of Sagittarius's adventurous and expansive spirit with Saturn's demand for accountability and responsibility. So Sagittarius is the mutable fire element, and those traits bring in adaptability, flexibility, passion, and maybe some impulsiveness. And when these traits encounter Saturn's influence, people are urged to establish a firm foundation for these exploratory energies. So Sagittarius wants to go out and explore the world, and through adventure, Sagittarius learns more, and learning more is really the goal of Sagittarius. It wants to understand the world so that it can have a better, more nuanced philosophy on life and establish better beliefs and ethics based on all of the things that it has learned. And then when this is combined with Saturn, we're really urged to establish a firm foundation for our philosophical beliefs and our intellectual pursuits. So Saturn's lessons manifest in Sagittarius by prompting a reevaluation of your belief system and encouraging a disciplined approach to higher education or travel or the pursuit of wisdom. And Saturn also brings an influence of bringing a realistic approach to our justice and our ethics. Sagittarius can have really high and lofty ideals, and Saturn maybe reminds that Sagittarius energy to be more realistic with their ideals, be more realistic about justice and ethics and philosophies, so that you're not just creating these ideals that no one can meet. Like, idealistically, yes, Sagittarius, we want this perfect world. Realistically, we have to understand that people have limitations. And when people have limitations, there's limitations on how they are going to behave, react, respond, etc. So Saturn has this more steady hand that can temper the fiery enthusiasm of Sagittarius. And Saturn can guide people to set achievable goals and then work diligently towards them, also not expecting, like, I'm going to put a little bit of work in and then get a reward. Saturn reminds us sometimes we have to work and work some more and work some more and keep at it before we get to that benefit at the end. We have to learn this endurance and endure the necessary challenges for our personal and intellectual growth. So Saturn combined with Sagittarius brings this fusion of passion and pragmatism, and it invites us to navigate our quest for wisdom with a structured and disciplined mindset. So let's put it together with the Ten of Wands and Saturn and Sagittarius. So in this card's image, it's really easy to see the Saturn influence, the burden of hard work, responsibility of pushing to finish the job, restrictions and boundaries that are placed upon us by work and by our own goals. But if you look beyond the struggle of this figure carrying the wands and ask yourself, what is driving him to keep going? Then you can start to see the Sagittarius influence, I think. Because Sagittarius is a sign of optimism. And within optimism and hope, there is so much drive and passion. This card is depicting not only someone carrying a heavy burden, but the subtle optimism and hope that inspires them to keep going. What is really motivating them to have such great endurance and discipline and keep going even though they are so tired? They are embodying Saturn in their endurance and their responsibility and their strong work ethic, but they're also embodying Sagittarius in this determination and sacrifice and hopefulness, because they really believe in the end goal. Like, they know that if they can just carry all of these wands over to that village, then I can do so much good once I get there. I can provide whatever it is that these wands represent, and get them to the place what we've been working so hard to get to. And so there's a lot of hope and optimism in this card too, because otherwise I think this person would give up. I don't think that they would be able to sustain the energy of carrying all of this weight if they didn't really believe in what they were carrying it for. If they didn't have a strong sense of purpose, that's providing them with the determination and the endurance to like just keep going. On the other hand, I think this card brings a warning here. We all have struggles and burdens in life, and we all have periods of suffering, of feeling overworked, overburdened, and close to burnout. And the optimism of Sagittarius might combine with the responsibility of Saturn in a way that makes us feel like we have to do all of this alone. We don't have a choice. We have to finish all the tasks that we agreed to. So our sense of obligation is combined with that Sagittarius idealism, and we might have this ideal that we just can't realistically meet. We might be carrying more than we can reasonably carry on our own, and we're going to end up burning out or breaking down. And there are times that the responsible and mature thing to do is to ask for help, to delegate some of these burdens to others who are able to help us. Or perhaps the responsible and mature thing to do is to prioritize what we need to carry now and what we can let go of. You do not have to reach the finish line all by yourself, carrying every single thing that you once thought was important. Your values and priorities change, and this card can signify a time that you need to reevaluate your priorities. What are you willing to struggle for? What burdens seem to be worthwhile ways to expend your energy? Like some of the, we talked about that optimism. Some of this is worthwhile to carry because we really believe in it. We're passionate about it. We have an ideal or a philosophy, and we know if we just get there, it'll be worth it. Sometimes our values and priorities have changed, and maybe we're still carrying something that we don't really believe in the same way. We don't have that hope and optimism anymore, but we're carrying it out of a sense of obligation and responsibility. We have to sometimes pause and reflect, do I need to keep working on this goal, or can I let it go? There are things that we are willing to suffer for because the outcome of the struggle is aligned with our beliefs, ethics, and values. Saturn can help us take those Sagittarian beliefs and philosophies and turn them into meaningful goals and things that are worth striving for. But meanwhile, we can evaluate our beliefs and philosophies to help us determine what things are not worth our time and energy and effort. And we can learn to let those go. We have to be able to prioritize. We have to be able to delegate. We have to be able to ask for help. We have to recognize our own limitations. Sometimes our limitations are because I don't have any energy to put towards the things that don't really matter to me, right? I have energy in limited amounts, and I have to be able to choose which things are really important to me that I'm going to put that energy towards, and which things are not worthwhile, and I'm just like burning out my energy for something that I don't feel personally passionate about, right? So we have to be able to prioritize and understand our goals and our reasons for doing things, our philosophy, our ethics, our beliefs. Once we really understand what is driving us, what are our passions, what are the things we really believe in, what do we really want to work for, then we can better evaluate what we want to continue carrying with us and working towards, and what we can let go of. So I find it interesting that the final that third decan of Sagittarius, we experience the sun moving through this decan in December, right before the winter solstice. And around this time of year, we're already starting to think about, what are my goals for next year going to be? What are my intentions and goals, and what's my New Year's resolution going to be? And part of the energy of the winter solstice is letting go of that which no longer serves us and helping us really understand our priorities so that we are carrying forward with us into the new year the things that really matter to us. So I have some devotional questions for the Ten of Wands. You can ask yourselves these questions during the time when any planet is moving through the third decan of Sagittarius. So anytime something is moving through that final 10 degrees of Sagittarius, you can ask yourself these questions. Or anytime you get the Ten of Wands in a reading and you want to really dive deeper into the meaning of this card, you could even use these questions as a tarot reading and draw a card for every question to help you clarify their meaning. So, what is my current workload? Just taking a look at what are all of your responsibilities and obligations and workload and how you're spending your energy. What is my end goal? So what are the goals that you are working towards with each of these tasks? What do I feel optimistic and hopeful about? What are my most important values? What are my most important beliefs and philosophies? Are the burdens and work that I am carrying aligned with my values and beliefs? What are my priorities at this time? What are some tasks or commitments that I can release or let go of? Who are the people that can help me along this journey? What can I do to avoid burnout? So these questions or this podcast episode may be especially helpful anytime that you draw the Ten of Wands in a tarot card reading. Anytime that Saturn is in Sagittarius at any degree. When any planet is in the last 10 degrees of Sagittarius. If you have Saturn in Sagittarius in your birth chart at any degree, or if you have any planets in your birth chart in the last 10 degrees of Sagittarius. Also, previously we have studied Saturn represented in other tarot cards. We have done an episode about the Five of Wands, which is the energy of Saturn and Leo. And we have done an episode about the Three of Wands, which is the energy of Saturn and Libra. So if you wish, you can look back on those cards or those episodes for examples of how Saturn's influence is slightly different depending on what sign it is in, and for other examples of different tarot cards that have a Saturn signature. All right. I want to thank you so very much for tuning in and listening to this episode. You can help support my work of making this podcast by joining my Patreon. That is www.patreon.com/HestiasMuse. Come join the Patreon. I've got a lot of cool content going on there and a couple different levels that you can sign up for different exclusive stuff. And big shout out and thank you to all of the people that are already currently signed up for the Patreon. Thank you so much for your continued support. It really helps me keep on doing what I love to do, which is to share astrological insights and tarot readings, etc. And another way you can support me is by getting a personal astrology reading, and you can find out more about how to get a reading from me at my website, www.hestiasmuse.net. Anyways, so thank you so very much. I'm going to be back as soon as I can with your next tarot card, which will be for the first decan of Capricorn. Because we are getting ready to get into Capricorn season, baby. So I look forward to telling you about those cards and just getting through Capricorn season with you. All right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.